guys, my name is Michael and welcome to a new GTK tutorial. It is time to move on, and today we are going to learn a new widget which probably most of you are need it, and you are going to use it in your application. Some of you already asked me in some comments if I'm going to create a widget like this one in our case today, and I was telling them that yes, I will do it. So now it is time to work with this widget. But before we move, you need to understand that the most important thing which you need to know it is that you need to follow the GObject playlist, because you need to understand how the GObject works, or best say the GObject set data or set data full functions are working, because we are going to work with it today, and I'm not going to make comments about it. So if you don't understand it, this means you didn't follow the GObject playlist. Okay, so that being said, the playlist which we are going to, the widget, sorry, which we are going to learn today, it is called GTK ProgressBar. It is a widget which indicates progress visually, and the description says the GTK ProgressBar is typically used to display the progress of a long-running operation. So it provides a visual clue that processing is underway. In other words, the GTK ProgressBar can be used in two different modes: percentage mode and activity mode. What exactly they mean? Let me show you something. I already prepared something here. A thing which we are going to create together, and watch this program. At this point, as you see, they said percentage mode and activity mode. Activity mode means those two progress bars right here, the searching and the loading one. You see how they are moving. Basically this means there is some activity on the which your application does, and the user knows when see this, it needs to wait. It's not important if it is a searching activity or it is a loading something in a manner which is really unknown how exactly it does work. So if you get yourself in that point, then your progress bar it should behave like this one. But the second one, like already you noticed, the percentage mode, it is percentage mode, it is right here. As you can see, we have a progress bar which says processing 0. When I'm going to click the button, you will see how the progressing it's working. You see 5%, 10, 50, 20, 30, and so on. You see, basically this is the percentage mode. So in other words, just to be sure that you understand, two kinds of progress bar are possible. This is very important for you to understand. The first one, it is using it for loading or searching status, if you can call it like this. And the second one, it is using it to show the progress in real time, like we do right here now. You see, it is progressing and so on. So basically this is the thing which we are going to create today. So for this, let's see what we have right now. At this point, I'm going to close this one. At this point, I have a program which has a window with a grid inside it, and we are loading our CSS, as you already know, nothing special, the create window function, and of course the grid itself. Sorry guys, I had to take a phone. It happens a lot of times. Anyway, after we basically create the window and our grid, as you can see, I set the column homogeneous to true and the row homogeneous to false, and of course I put the grid inside the window. So if I compile it and run it right now, you will see no difference, just a window 200 200 with a progress bar as its title. Okay, so that being said, let us create our grid. As you already know, GTK widget progress bar. I'm going to call it 0 because later we are going to need to create more of them, but at this point we are only going to concentrate ourselves to only one. Okay, so that being said, progress bar, it's going to be point to the G progress bar new, which as you can see it is a function which returns a widget and takes no arguments or no parameters in this declaration, and of course creates GTK ProgressBar. So in other words, we call this function, and now because we call this function, basically we can attach it to our grid. So GTK grid attach GTK grid. So we are going to put inside our grid the progress bar itself, 0 left, 0 top, 1 width and 1 height. And now because we attach it, basically if I'm going to compile it and run the program right now, you will see how a default progress bar looks like. It is nothing special, it is just a progress bar which looks like a, if you check it, it looks like a container. No special, no meaning. It is just a progress bar with no information inside it. Now I'm going to introduce you a new function. We are not going to talk about the main event loop right now, the G main loop, but I need a function which I'm going to introduce you today, which is called G timeout, G idle, no, G time. Okay, let me go back because I think I G time add right here. Yeah, we cannot talk too much about it because it is not the case, but let's see. It says sets a function to be called at regular intervals with a default priority which you set it, the G priority default. The function is called repeatedly until it returns false, which is basically important for us to work with this function, because this function basically it will be called at these regular intervals for you, just to give a meaning for our progress bar in this example. So in other words, this function will be called over and over and over again, because we are going to return true instead of false to not stop it, because we need to see how the progress bar works. Okay, so in other words, let us call this function right now, right here, and because no, sorry. Now what do we need? We need to set an interval because it's very important, and as you can see, the interval, it says the time between calls to the function in milliseconds. So because it is in a milliseconds, basically 1000 means 1 second. We are going to use this one. We are going to call it every 1000 milliseconds. And now the next thing which we need a function, a G source function. So because we need this kind of function, we are going to create one. Now I'm not going to reveal too much information because I'm not going to bring you in the wrong direction right now. So basically I'm going to cast our function which we are going to create it. So I'm going to say handle progress or whatever, which name you give to your function which you created. And of course the next thing is the progress bar, which we need to pass it so that this function works. Basically this function, it will be called every second. And because it is called every second, it will call this function with this parameter. In other words, let us create it. Void, no, sorry, G boolean we need, because we need to G boolean, we need to return true. So let us create this function. Okay. And now, of course, like because we said our progress bar should be called GTK ProgressBar. Now let us define it. Okay, the first thing first, which we are going to say, we are going to set the pulse from the, we don't need this one. So the next function will be the GTK ProgressBar pulse, indicates that some progress has been made, but you don't know how much. So causes the progress bar to enter an activity mode where a block bounces back and forth. It's very important for you to understand. So each call to GTK ProgressBar pulse causes the block to move by a little bit. The amount of movement per pulse is determined by the GTK ProgressBar set pulse step. So in other words, it will be something like this. This function will be called, and at some point you will see some movement. We are going to stop here with the explanation because you need to understand those things. So what do we need? This function takes a progress bar, so nothing special, which is right here, this one. Now check what happens now, and of course I need to return true. What happens at this point? As you can see, you see how it's moving. Basically, this is what this function does. It's moving. You see the progress. So we have something every second. You see, it's moving the whole progress bar, and because it is in activity mode, you see it's going back and forth. Nothing special. Okay, the next thing which we need, the GTK ProgressBar set pulse step, which is very important to understand it, because we saw how we move it. Now we can control the movement as well. So sets the fraction of total progress bar length to move the bouncy block for each call to GTK ProgressBar pulse. So as you can see, fraction should be between 0 and 1.0. I want to show you something very crazy. So I'm going to call this time the progress bar with 0 and check what exactly happens. Watch the progress bar. You see, we said 0, it stays, it doesn't move. Now I'm going to say 0.5. Watch how it's moving. Watch its speed. You see its speed, how it's moving. Now watch how fast it is moving when I say 1.0. Remember, it is a double. Don't play with 1 integers. Watch how fast it is now. You see? Of course, it is something crazy. They said between 0 and 1. Nobody stopped it to use 3. It will be very fast. Watch how fast it is now. Just to be sure that you understand. You see the speed of the progress bar. Basically, this is what this function does. I'm going to set it back to 1. Now the next thing which we are going to, the next function which I'm going to introduce in this video, it will be GTK ProgressBar, how it's called, with the text, printing the text, show text right here. So the next thing which we are going to talk in this video, it will be GTK ProgressBar set show text. Is a function which takes a progress bar and a Boolean setting, true or false. In other words, sets whether the progress bar will show the show text next to the bar. So the shown text is either the value of the text property, or if that is null, the fraction value as a percentage. Okay, so to make a progress bar that is styled and size should contain the text, whatever it is, we are going to talk a bit later. So in other words, because when I compile it and run it right now, you'll see only the progress bar and you see nothing, you see. But if you call this function and we need of course the progress bar and the setting, which it will be true, we need to see the text. Now you will see the text as well. At this point you will see its percentage. You see it's not moving because it is only showing. We are not working with this text, we are not updating this text, or we are not doing something different for this text. So we are going to make two things in the next coming videos. In the activity mode, we are going to print here just a message, the same like you saw it here. Let me show you again. Change it to GTK demo GTK ProgressBar. So you see here I decide to use two text, searching, loading, And right here where it says processing 0, watch what's happened after I click the set fraction. You see it's changing only to percentage, and it's updating every time I click the button. So basically this is the next thing which we are going to do in the next videos. That being said, thank you guys for watching. If you like it, please subscribe, share with your friends and neighbors, and until next time, see you guys.